In this math video, we're going to be learning about perimeter. So to begin with, there are three main terms that you need to know. So peri, this section of the word perimeter, peri actually means outside or surrounding. And meter literally translates into the word measure in Latin. And then there's this word here, which is pronounced as congruent. Now, congruent means that it is the same or equal, and that actually relates to these lines here on each shape, or on this particular shape that you see. So congruent means the same as. So this is a congruency line, meaning that that measure there is the same measure as this one here. And this measure here, where you've got two strokes, is the same as this measure over here. And you can find out what perimeter means by putting these two definitions together. So the outside or the surrounding measure or measurement of any particular shape at all. So it is the outside measurement. Okay, so to find the outside measurement of this shape, we can use these two formulas, which are essentially exactly the same. So we could say length plus width, which is the length here, plus the length here, plus the width. Or we could say the length times 2 plus the width times 2. Either way, it doesn't matter. You'll get the same result. So for the purposes of this video, I'm going to just use this top one here. So length plus width. So the length, I'll just move this back a bit so we've got more room. So the length here is 12 plus 12 plus 5 plus 5. Okay. So what I would do in this one is just kind of reduce it down. So then you'd have 24 plus 10, giving you a perimeter of 34 meters. Okay, so I've just plussed all of the outside or surrounding measurements together to find out my perimeter. Okay, so now this one I'm going to look at is something called a compound shape or an irregular shape. So it's compound because it's kind of like it's two rectangles together. Okay. So with this one, with this perimeter equation, it is basically just plussing or adding all of the lengths and widths together, which is really essentially this one, but this formula works only for rectangles. Okay, so this one, I've got my 10 here, plus my 8, plus my 12, plus my 3. And then I've got two letters here, and these are actually called pronumerals, and they're called pronumerals because I'll write here, pronumerals. They're called pronumerals because they actually represent a different number. So we don't put a question mark because this question mark would be different to that question mark answer, okay? So we instead put two different pronumerals because they're two different answers that we're going to get to these questions. Okay, so basically what we need to do is we need to figure out what these two pronumerals are actually going to be. Okay, so one way of doing this is by kind of drawing a bit of a line over here and recognizing that when I draw this line over here in this shape, it is essentially saying that up until this point, that measurement there is x. Okay, so see how it's the same there and it's the same there. So that's my rectangle, minus my drawing that's a little bit wonky. So it's also saying at the same time that from down here up until this point, it's 8. 8 is this section here. So I can actually find out, well, 8 centimeters, sorry. I can find out what that x is by saying, what is 12 minus 8? Or 8 plus what equals 12? So our answer here for this one, for that x, is 4. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing now to find out what this y is. Okay, so I'm going to look at it from this angle though. So I want to find out what that y is. So basically, I'm going to draw my little rectangle down to here. So the entire length of this shape is 10 centimeters this way. Okay, and so if I was to continue it up to here, it would also be 10 centimeters that way too. Okay, so if I've got kind of a bit of a cross section into this here. So if I drew my line down here as I did, so then I've got 3 centimeters there. I can find out what this section, this y, would equal by saying what is 10 take away 3. My y per numeral equals 7. So then I'm just going to add those into my equation now. So 4 and 7. Oops, not 47. 4 and 7. Okay, is 44. So our entire perimeter of this shape is 44 meters. Okay, so there's one last perimeter question or example that I wanted to give you, and it is finding the perimeter of a circle, and there's actually a specific name for it, and it's called the circumference. Okay, so I've got my circle here, and then this green line here where I've got C, that is actually representing the circumference, okay? That's how we spell it here. So the circumference of the circle is the whole perimeter of the circle. This D represents the diameter, or the distance that it is from one section all the way across, like cut in half this circle. Okay, so that the full distance across, that's the diameter. Then we have this one here, which is the radius, which is halfway across, or like if we were to quarter our circle. So the formula that we use to figure out our perimeter or our circumference of a circle is this, pi multiplied by the diameter. Now, if you're not sure what pi is, then I recommend that you go and watch our video all about pi and what it means in maths. So pi, and then come back to this video. Okay, so pi equals 3.14. Okay, the diameter of this example here, well, we only know the radius. So to find out the diameter, we simply just double it. Okay, so the diameter of this one is 4. So remember, when we're multiplying by decimals, we forget about the decimal and then we put it back in again at the end, depending on the digits after the place values of the digits after the decimal. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5. 3 times 4 is 12. Okay, so now I've got 2 digits after this decimal place, so I count my decimal in 2 from my last digit here. 1, 2, that's where it goes. So my circumference of this circle here, my example, is 12 and 56 hundredths. Best of luck, and remember to always show you're working out.